For some, we already live in hard times, and for all of us, there is a feeling of insecurity as we deal with economic crises and an uncertain future. The artists here have taken up this important theme because they want to communicate their distress and concern by observing the less fortunate. They have a natural need to drive to express social awareness in their own personal styles. Their intent is to make us aware and instill in us compassion and maybe the desire to do something to be helpful. What many people may not realize is that the freedom to take on this theme and countless other themes about humanity derives directly from the 19th century, a time when newfound freedoms of expression flourished as a result of the Enlightenment in the 18th century and the breakthroughs of the Enlightenment and the political and social revolutions that they inspired. Artists and writers alike took up the same causes, some of which were writing and painting about the less fortunate. It is not from the halls of modernism and the avant-garde movements, such as abstract expressionism and all the other isms, that themes such as hard times would find its roots. In fact, the modernist movement rejects such themes and calls them sentimental, passé, and imbued with contrivances, such as realistic images and storytelling painting. The modernist paradigm has no patience for the less fortunate, only for his or her own narcissistic, sometimes nihilistic self-expression. So we must turn to the 19th century as serious artists, art historians, and art lovers to find again the roots of such fine art themes touching upon the universal human condition and touching the soul of its audience. During the late 19th century and early 20th century, the writers who exposed injustices in society and the plight of the poor, the sick, or the downtrodden were generally praised for the important job that they did in helping improve society. The writers, some of them like Charles Dickens, Mark Twain, Victor Hugo, Balzac, Upton Sinclair, and John Steinbeck, are still elevated to the heavens for their greatness. But yet the visual artists who are painting the same subjects about which the writers were writing, the fine artists were dismissed, denigrated, and ridiculed. They successfully showed the hard lives of the poor and the disenfranchised, as do the artists in this exhibition. But even though they received great acclaim in their own day, and even some of that acclaim from those great writers, yet in the 20th century, their reputations became victims of a modernist Leviathan whose agenda to elevate modern art needed to denigrate traditional realism to survive comparison. Art history, as it has been written by the modernist and postmodernist art establishment, has been distorted in order to support that paradigm. If you took any course in art history during the past 65 years at any college or university in the Western world, whether undergraduate or postgraduate, you were taught that before the Impressionists and Post-Impressionists, upon whom was lavished endless amounts of extreme praise, before them the art world was controlled, as they said, by a gaggle of petty academic artists who painted inane, silly, or overly sentimentalized maudlin works, who cared only for perfection of technique. And that was pretty much it.
I'm here with Fred Baker, an old friend, documentary filmmaker, made the definitive film on Lenny Bruce, called Lenny Bruce Without Tears, and his son, Garen Baker, who's one of the featured artists in the show on Hard Times at Salmagundi. We're looking at a sketch of Garen's painting and also a print. As I understand it, the painting is too large to bring down.
It's a mural. It's actually a mural. It's what you just saw is 8 feet high by 25 feet long, so it's much too large to hang in this space. But it's a mural I did for a youth at-risk facility up in upstate New York. It's actually a 2-paneled mural, but this is one of the pieces from it.
Fred, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been involved with the left going on, 50 years at least, someone who was on the defense guard for Paul Robeson, how does the question of hard times and art relate to you personally?
It really rings home for me because Garin is certainly not a child of hard times. And although, well, you can't walk around unless you want to be in it. So that's okay, that's okay.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm very proud of Garin. There's a sense that he's being recognized by the art community that recognizes, as Max Ginsberg was saying, quality and integrity in their work, having to do with, and I love what the other painter too, his name eludes me right now, but I love what he said also about beauty, that he was really more impressed with beauty than he was with this quality and integrity with hard times and the downtrodden. But Garin has been systematically, for some reason, I don't know if it comes with the genes of my being a red diaper baby and him growing up in my household, somehow or another his paintings have always rested in what my mother called in Yiddish the oilem, which was the downtrodden, the people who really had a hard time making it in life, rather than those people who were pretty privileged. So I've never been able to put this together until tonight, in that my son has come into the realm of the things that have interested me as an artist, if I can call myself an artist or a filmmaker, as a filmmaker or an actor and a director in the theater, in that I've always tended towards those things my father, who was a socialist, communist, furrier in New York, taught me about the social premise of that certain people are exploited.
We need to get through. The mural is not necessarily done for a political, socio-economic, subject matter. The mural is mainly, I was approached by a youth at-risk facility, which is an organization upstate. I mean, they also have facilities in the Bronx, and what they do is they take young men and women that are, having trouble with the law, with opportunities themselves, lack of education, and they give them job training and job skills. And so I was approached by them to do a mural. I always, being born and raised in New York City, growing up in Harlem in the Upper West Side, I always had a kinship to young kids that were hanging out, and it was something that was close to my heart. So it wasn't necessarily about, I wanted to make a grand statement about some socio-economic condition. It was really, I wanted to depict in a realistic way the truth about what these young people's lives are like when there's lack of opportunity and they resort to other means to survive.